Why are you smiling now?
What was that your pickup line? Come rain or sunshine.
Yeah.
You, if it doesn't rain.
It doesn't rain. Just because of how much you fear the rain. And it's sure the rain doesn't hurt. But this water here has some piri-piri in it. So we could actually use that as a front one. And when you are threatened, really threatened, somebody has a gun, then you protect yourself. But looking at yesterday, very emotional. And the question would get into my mind, am I being emotional because not my child? Because you feel it if it's your child who has got that into that. And I think we need to move to another level of how we deal with the public. It's a concern. Yeah.
Right. And so when we see also politicians, crying, people wonder, is it now it's for the public gallery? How movingly this mood is from them as well. We cannot really tell.
And it's all across the board. I remember one time, like the university, this student was found using his cell phone in an exam. And the way he was mistreated. And I remember one time, I was giving an exam, and I go around and ask, I've never seen you in my class. He said, yeah, I have been there. So I said, fine. I didn't disturb the fella, but I made sure I stood at when they finished the exam, I stood at the door and brought a bouncer. So the guy could have gone with me, so I brought a bouncer. Then we asked him, are you in this class? Yes, give us your ID. And we found that he was doing exam for somebody else. Now, what am I trying to say here? How we treated that fella. We don't finish the exam, who sat with you at the end of it? The other one, they just hold him at the back, and they're parading the fella all around. The way we really mishandle our public is something we need to think about. Yeah.
All right. Bill Okero, good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, you can chime in as well. Thank you for joining us.
To see you, Bill.
As always,
long as it doesn't rain.
Yeah.
So we've been following also the development so far, and here we are. At least there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
But is there?
Yeah.
There is.
But looking at there is. Looking at the headliners, the fears over Ruto Raila deal in the making. At least even looking at the daily, it's a big shift. Yeah. There's a seismic tectonic shift, as they normally say. Now this one is the tectonic shift that is happening and reverberating. Bill Okero, at least you've been saying they should come on the table and discuss and talk.
Here they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not preconditions.
True, yes. But let me first comment on the issue of the police and the demonstrations. I think my position has always been, as a Kenyan, that we protect the rights in our constitution. This is fundamental. We struggled for more than 20 years to get this Bill of Rights in our constitution.
Right.
And the attempt by the government to demonize protests, demonstrations, I think is unacceptable. All over the world, but in this country in particular, Kenyans voted for this constitution overwhelmingly fundamentally because of the Bill of Rights. This is one of the things that we've been fighting for more than 20 years, from the time of those days of coming. So to suggest therefore that, ab initio that, demonstrations are illegal, declare them illegal, before even they happen. And then later to say, those demonstrations were not peaceful. Now I think the government has lost. And the government has lost big time in this thing, let me tell you. Because at the end of the day, the responsibility for running the country at the back starts with the government. So when you behave like the opposition, then you're losing. You're losing big time. And it's very unfortunate that dozens of Kenyans have been killed by police, but the government found it necessary. You find a government minister rushing to go and inspect a property that is damaged. But not a single government minister to date has visited any hospital, or even visited a family to say, Poleni, for people have been injured. It's like, it's your people. The people who are being injured, or the people who are being killed, or the people who are demonstrating our position. But when you are elected to government and you took an oath, you are the president of the Republic of Kenya, all the 51 million Kenyans. You keep saying, I'm the leader for all the 51. But when it comes to demonstration, people are being killed and people are injured, you have no time for them. You know, I keep asking myself, what happened in Kisumu, for example, and those Nyanza counties, or parts of this city? Can they happen in Nyeri? If those demonstrations happened, would the police be allowed to go and do what they did in Kisumu, in Nyeri, or in Eldoret? I mean, just ask yourselves. It won't happen. So when you give the people that mindset that, you know, you're opposition, anybody who comes out is supporting opposition, I think it's wrong. There are many people who came out, people who supported the government in the elections, but they came out because they genuinely believed that their cost of living situation is bad, the economic situation, and they believe that the government needs to hear them, because demonstrations are one way of expressing your dissent, your disappointment about a government policy, and you want change. It happens all over the world. So I think it's very unfortunate that yet on the other side, you don't see one single person whom the government has said this person was killed by opposition. Not one. They haven't said this person, except the police who have been injured. So I think the government has lost, big time on this thing, and I think it's good that they are now seeing they have no other way but to sit down with these guys and talk to them and discuss these issues. And I think it's a good thing for the country that they have to sit down and talk. This is what we've been saying. Look, I mean, all this noise and all these threats, we are going to do this and try, mutaona. You are the ones who are scaring the investors. Let me tell you, if the intention, I had the government accusing the opposition of saying they are sabotaging the economy, they are chasing away investors, but let me tell you, the people who will chase you out of this country are the government, because of the way they have screwed up all the government, various government policies on the economy, because of the way they are dealing with people on the streets, the way who's creating the headlines? You're helping create, you're actually playing into the hands of the opposition. And we've said this from the time they started making noise last year. We said, please don't play into the hand of the opposition. These guys have nothing to lose. They're allowed to make noise because that's what the Constitution gives them, the power to make noise. But if you start fighting with them, both of you will get into the mud. So I think it's good, the big shift, and we hope they are both sincere. And I think they should sit down. But it's a very good
point he brought, perhaps in Don Toulouse, unlike your analogy, that this is all about the cost of living. That's what it's all about. And we are sharing here with Patrick. And I want to be careful. Is it all about the who won? I think that is very clear. It's all about the cost of living. And when you look at the cost of living, do I need a mediator leader from outside there? Is it not something we need to deal with it ourselves? And if you noticed yesterday, it was very interesting in Kisumu. There was mace in the middle, and they had all these players. I don't know what was signified. And there was this guy reading in Luo. I couldn't understand what it was about. But to me, that signified these guys were all after the food. That's all about. We know that we did the August 22nd, moved on, but the issue is the food and the cost of bringing the fuel and all that. My view, I'm not sure whether we get people from Tanzania or get them from there. They'll sort about our food. It's something ourselves we need to sit down and have our own dialogue than anything else.
Indeed.
You don't get the sense that, and I agree with Mheshimiwa Bilokelo. See, as a nation, we've lost our way and we've lost the meaning of what this constitution is. Look, when you are in office, first of all, you are not a leader of those who elected you.
All the Kenyans, isn't it?
In any circumstance, even in a cooperative, when you become chairman, you are not the chairman of those who elected you. You are the chairman of everybody. So that those in office today need to reflect really hard as to what it is they think they're doing. It's not a government for the 7 million who voted for this regime. Even the 7 million that voted for the opposition and the 8 million who didn't show up, and all the other Kenyans who are actually not voters because maybe they are not of age. Secondly, this constitution presumes, demands an opposition.
Right.
The conduct of democracy cannot function unless there is opposition. Thirdly, going to the street to demonstrate is a fundamental right enshrined in this Katiba. In the role of the police service, and mark you, the use of the word service in the constitution was very deliberate, that the police are a service to the citizens. They are not a force to try and beat up the citizens. Finally, the cost of living is not affecting opposition. The cost of living is affecting all Kenyans. And it is the government's job to solve it. Now, if you think about the management of the economy, who is in charge of monetary policy? Who is in charge of trying to control inflation? It's not the opposition. It is the treasury, it is the central bank. And they cannot run away from that responsibility. Now, if you to get annoyed and upset and to bang tables and to threaten others because they point out what is wrong with the republic is actually bankruptcy of leadership.
But let me conclude before I was.
It was a hostile takeover.
I can't stop my message.
I was approaching you. That you're making a very strong point.
Thank you very much.
And I'd have to be continued.
And I joined in the support.
Let me conclude.
Yes.
I think the decision by the president was a very positive one, and I think the opposition leader Raila should not give this precondition. I think it's an opportunity. Let him just, as the president says, call him and tell him, my friend, can I come over? Yes, they go and meet. Let the discussions begin. If he gets stuck, he can always report back to his team and say, I had tea with the guy and he told me to get lost. I mean, and he has the streets. Nobody has shut down the streets if he wants them back. But I think he must really, you cannot say, the president knows my number. I watched on international news last night, the former prime minister being interviewed, and he says, the president has my number, he knows how he can call me. I mean, you can't. I think it should not get to that level. I think they should meet. Mediation is known as these are guys who work together all their lives. They know each other. They are leaders in this country. They need to go and meet and have tea and talk. That will cool down temperatures. Not reduce the cost of living, but it will cool down temperatures.
Which is important.
Which is important
for a conducive environment.
To reduce the cost of living.
Yes. Yeah.
But
so there's a very interesting. Yes.
Just take this up. I think the time for politics of the politics of election should actually be closed.
Correct.
I think that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
What has happened is that the politics of elections have continued, and then whenever there's an issue, it is put on top.
Yeah.
Right? So that
Exactly,
it
that's the issue.
reinforces the issue of the politics of election. I think we need to go back to the politics of running the country, which is a different